Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Director, Product Management, Narayan Bharadwaj, and Product Line Marketing Manager, Sai Gopalan.
Thank you. Thank you. Give it up for the T-shirt slingshot team here, also known as the product management team. Thanks, guys. All right. Welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Narayan Bharadwaj. I lead the product management team for VMware Cloud on AWS. My co-pilot today is Sai Gopalan, Product Line Marketing Manager for VMware Cloud on AWS. Together, we'll talk about accelerating your hybrid cloud journey with our new exciting service offering called VMware Cloud on AWS. All right, let's get right to it. Today, we are super excited to announce the initial availability of VMware Cloud on AWS. It's now available. Our new service offering really captures the best of both worlds from VMware and AWS. For the past several years, customers have been asking us, they have to make a choice between VMware and AWS for their IT projects. Today, they don't have to make that choice anymore. Together with this offering, VMware Cloud on AWS brings the best of both worlds together with the enterprise-grade software capabilities of vSphere, vSAN, NSX, combined with the flexibility, agility, and global reach of AWS infrastructure. Over this past year, we've been running extremely hard.
Totally.
The teams, along with all of the engineering teams from AWS, VMware, the product management teams, the business teams, the marketing teams, we've been working extremely closely. We are friends and best buddies now with all of our AWS folks up in Seattle and here and in Palo Alto. And we've been running so hard just to get to the starting line to reach this milestone today, which we're extremely proud of. But just as a reminder to ourselves that this is really the starting point, and we're on towards a long journey to the hybrid cloud with you, our customers and partners. So as a reminder to ourselves, we bought ourselves these pair of shoes. We're actually wearing it on stage today. Check this out. It's pretty cool, isn't it? This is a reminder to ourselves to keep running hard to make you, our customers and partners, successful in this journey to the hybrid cloud. All right, with that being said, let's get right to it. The way we want to divvy up this presentation, the first half of this will go through strategy and vision. We'll talk about use cases. We'll talk about the overall solution, what that looks like. And we'll get into a live demo. And then we'll talk about features that are available right now. And then finally, we'll get into a topic of great interest for many folks in the audience, which I'm sure of that. We'll talk about consumption, we'll talk about our pricing, which, by the way, is now live on our website. And we'll leave some time for Q&A as well. All right? So I'll hand it over to Sai for the first half. Over to you, Sai.
Thank you, Narayan. It's really good to be here and to see a packed house. Today, we are going to be talking about the strategy and vision for VMware Cloud on AWS. Before getting started, I'd just like to present this slide and say that features are subject to change. Technical feasibility and market demand will affect the final delivery. That said, let's get right to it. There's growing cloud adoption. Public clouds are mainstream. And essentially, if you think about it, this is driven by the need for speed. If you look at any of the industry statistics out there, as well as talking to customers, public clouds are growing. They're growing fast. And customers have their on-premises infrastructure, their private clouds that they've built over the years. And these customers are really looking for a way to adopt public clouds in a way that allows them to seamlessly integrate their private clouds with that. And the hybrid mode is the preferred mode of consumption of their cloud deployment. This can feel like an incredible opportunity, but to really get there, organizations need to be ready to act. So what do they need? To maximize the benefits of private and public together, they need a holistic strategy and a way to make it real. And that's what VMware and AWS are here to do. When you look at the private cloud itself, this is totally governed by you. You've built your teams, your skill sets, your processes, your governance mechanisms, fine-tuned for your applications, totally controlled by you. When you look at the public cloud, it offers a broad range of consumption economics, unique services, global scale and reach. When you combine the two together, oftentimes you have requirements that customers ask us that need to be met. Things such as, how do I make sure that my environments are operationally consistent? How do I make sure that I'm able to utilize my existing skill sets, the teams, the processes? How do I make sure I'm able to control, manage, and secure consistently across these environments while ensuring that I'm able to deliver enterprise class level SLAs for my applications, while not forgetting that these applications need to be compatible with each other between the private and the public cloud. It's not always possible, and it's not always easy. Imagine these two worlds coming together, merging seamlessly into a unique combination that offers unimaginable possibilities. When we announced the partnership with AWS last year in October, that's what we were trying to do. Two industry forces coming together to deliver the best of both worlds for our customers and partners. When you look at VMware, customers really like the leading compute, storage, network virtualization technologies. The fact that we have a broad range of support for workloads, and that we are the de facto standard for the enterprise data center. And customers really love Amazon Web Services for its flexible consumption economics, the broadest range of cloud services in the market, and their global scale and reach. So when you combine the two things together and jointly engineer a solution, you really bring the best of both worlds for your customers. And that's VMware Cloud on AWS. And as Narayan was mentioning, we are now available, and we are very excited for that. So what does VMware Cloud and AWS really bring to the table? What we are doing is we are delivering the rich set of VMware SDDC technologies on bare metal AWS infrastructure. This is consistent VMware technologies that you're familiar using. Because vSphere forms the core of this service, you have that easy workload portability and hybrid capabilities. We don't just stop with the rich set of SDDC technologies. We also give you the power to really access AWS native services from within your VMware Cloud and AWS environments. And this is really powerful because now customers have an integrated approach to application modernization. This particular platform, when we look at the North Star of this particular service, we are going to be supporting both containers as well as virtual machines. So this is really your VMware technologies that you love running on the world's most popular public cloud. How do we make it happen? You would have heard about VMware Cloud Foundation, the integrated stack of vSphere, vSAN, and NSX that allows you to get the fastest way possible to develop your private cloud on premises. This same stack is what powers VMware Cloud on AWS as well. Let's get into a little bit more detail of what the strategy and the vision for this particular service is. Think of it as the North Star for this service. So when we look at VMware Cloud on AWS, it is essentially vSphere, vSAN, NSX integrated into an easy, on-demand service running on purpose-built bare metal AWS infrastructure. This is a very key point. ESXi is directly running on physical AWS hosts with all the elasticity and all the security that AWS brings to the table. This service is sold, supported, and operated by VMware. What does that mean? That means that you have one single contractual obligation with VMware, and you have one support number to call for any issues. As I was mentioning before, we will be delivering support for both containers as well as virtualized machines. And customers will have a wide variety of consumption economics and consumption models, including on-demand capacity consumption. Now, one key thing to note over here is that vCenter is the control point with VMware Cloud and AWS, and we are basing all of it on vSphere APIs. That means you have full operational consistency with your on-premises data centers. Because we are basing it on vCenter and vSphere API, all your existing tooling should continue to work. Many customers utilize vRealize Suite, the suite of technologies that allows you to have a unified hybrid cloud experience. This will continue to work with VMware Cloud on AWS as well. You would have invested a lot of time and effort with third-party ISV ecosystem tools. Those should continue to work as well. And because this is all based on vSphere, you have seamless workload portability. But we don't just stop there. We also give customers direct, optimized, high bandwidth, low latency access to AWS services from within VMware Cloud on AWS. So imagine a virtual machine that's running inside of VMware Cloud on AWS. That'll be able to access native AWS services. And wherever AWS goes, VMware Cloud on AWS will follow. What that means is that we are going to be tapping into the global scale and reach of AWS. Being able to instantiate entire VMware SDDC clusters within AWS Cloud is super fast, and we'll cover that in a little bit. Tying it back to the business and IT imperatives that customers have, VMware and AWS are jointly working to accelerate innovation, help you respond to change faster, and optimize your costs. There are several examples speaking to customers over the last year and a half that we've seen working out. So be it new application development, be it application modernization, where you might want to swap out one particular component of your application with a cloud service, be it the ability to utilize dynamic capacity when you have seasonal spikes in demand, responding to change faster. When you actually think about M&A activities, when you think about data sovereignty issues with new regulations coming in, being closer to your end user, or when you think about continuity of operations with disaster recovery. A lot of customers have top-down mandates to move to the cloud. With VMware Cloud and AWS, this has never been easier. Shift from CapEx to OpEx. This is a key part of a cloud service, and VMware Cloud and AWS will deliver that. And the fact that customers just want to have that application portability, where they want to strategically decide where they want to run their workload. So when you think about the ways customers are deploying their clouds, we essentially think of it in three categories. There are customers that have their center of mass in the private cloud, and they want to selectively expand to the public cloud or extend to the public cloud. In the middle, you have those customers that want to consolidate their data center footprint and move to the public cloud. This could be a range of customers, right? There are certain customers that want to selectively migrate applications. There are certain customers that want to shut down their data centers and move to the cloud. And then you have the third category of customers that really treat their private and the public presences as equal peers, and they want to be able to have that workload flexibility. Use cases that are listed over here are the sort of use cases that VMware Cloud and AWS will continue to deliver over time. But the end effect over here is that customers should be able to strategically decide where they want to run their workload without compromising any of the capabilities that they have, without compromising on operational consistency, without letting all of their skill sets and tools that they've built over the years go to waste. AWS has a global presence and reach, and over time, VMware Cloud and AWS will follow where AWS goes. With that, I'm sure a lot of you would be very excited to see a demo. So let's switch over to the demo. And Narayan, lead us through the demo, please.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sai. All right. So here's how you start your journey with VMware Cloud on AWS. First of all, you start at cloud.vmware.com. That's our new landing page for all of the information that you will need to begin your journey to VMware Cloud on AWS, as well as to the other SaaS services that VMware is offering, many of which were announced this morning. And so on this particular page, you get all of the information about the overall sort of strategy, the vision. You can dive into individual customer stories, really get a lot out of this page, and really begin your journey to the hybrid cloud. Now, from here, you can navigate to VMware Cloud on AWS specific page, and here you can get specific information about VMware Cloud on AWS. Why do you need it? What are the use cases, videos, blogs, testimonials, et cetera, et cetera. It's a great resource. There's also feature sets, pricing, FAQ, and a lot of other information on this website that's publicly available as of this morning. Great. Now, one more thing. We've also stood up a status page, a public status page that really captures the status of all of the SaaS services that VMware has launched. And so VMware Cloud on AWS is represented here as well, and any incidents will be noted here as part of the regular operational procedure that we have, right? And this is publicly available. You can subscribe to these as a customer or as an interested observer as well. Okay. Now let's actually get into the Cloud Services console. This is the start of the journey on the actual application. And so here, when you log in using your My VMware credentials, you can see the list of SaaS services that are part of the portfolio. There's Cost Insight, Discovery, Network Insight, NSX Cloud, and many future SaaS services that will show up on this Cloud Services console. From here, I can quickly drill into my organization and look at all of the users that are part of this organization. Users can have any types of roles here, including organization member, organization owner, or even support roles. So let's go back to the Cloud Console and actually dive into VMware Cloud on AWS. Now, the VMware Cloud on AWS Service Console is really your starting point for navigating into the core service. And in this particular organization, you will see that we've already stood up 2 SDDCs, software-defined data centers. Each SDDC is really a combination of VMware software, vSphere, vSAN, NSX, already installed, configured on elastic bare metal hosts from AWS, sitting on an AWS VPC shadow account that we manage on your behalf.
How
all of that
fast
is done.
It, Narayan?
Great question. Notice here that you can go ahead and start to create a new SDDC as well. And if you think about it, you're really creating a new data center, right? All the way from getting your hardware, configuring it, racking and stacking it, installing software on that, configuring it, and making it ready for your users. And so this entire process for us takes about 2 hours. So you could literally do it over lunch if you wanted to.
That's pretty impressive.
Our initial users who have used this have said the same as well. Notice also that you can invite additional users to your organization directly from here. Now let's go ahead and drill into the master demo SDDC and take a deeper look at the SDDC itself. Now notice that at a high level, you can get utilization information for CPU, memory, and storage for this particular SDDC that's running. Now, from here, you can do additional things. Now, think about how you react to capacity adds in your data center today, how long does it take for you to add a single host or a set of hosts in your data center? Perhaps it's days or weeks. In our case, it's simply a UI action, or more importantly, an API call away. The ability to add hosts to your SDDC is a couple of clicks, right? And it takes minutes to add a new host to your SDDC. In this case, my SDDC already has 6 hosts, and I can add 3 more hosts that has been set as the organization limit for this particular org, right? So very fast, really enables you to respond to business needs effectively. All right, now let's dive into some details on the networking tab here. So notice that our networking is obviously powered by NSX, right? We've worked extremely hard behind the scenes to present a very simplified view for networking that will really enable any VMware admin to operate core networking functions. You don't really need a PhD in networking to get on this console and set up basic networking functions. And so let me just break this down here. So at the top here, we have what we call a management gateway that really houses all of the management VMs, such as vCenter, NSX Manager, et cetera. On the bottom here, it's the compute gateway, where we house all of the workload VMs that users choose to bring in to VMware Cloud on AWS. In addition, you can set up a secure IPsec VPN from your on-prem to the MGW or to the CGW. You can also start to set up firewall rules, basic firewall rules, to prevent or deny access to your vCenter server in the cloud. You can also start to grab public IPs from AWS and start to associate that with your VMs that are sitting in the compute gateway. There's a lot of functionality that's available here right on this console in a very, very simple way. The key thing I want to highlight here, though, is look at this little small blue arrow pointing towards an Amazon VPC. Now, this is a separate customer account that a customer already owns, a separate AWS account, right? This is a separate business relationship with AWS. And so all that was done during the SDDC provisioning process was just to enable connectivity from SDDC to your customer VPC, right? Once that happens, you automatically get a high-speed, low-latency private connection to your customer VPC. Now, why is this important? As I mentioned earlier, now you can start tying in VMs on your SDDC to a range of services on your Amazon, on the Amazon side. So imagine a world where you can tie together a VM and SDDC to an S3 bucket in the customer VPC, or tie it to an RDS instance on the Amazon VPC, right? All of those use cases light up now in this particular model. Okay, great. Now, let's actually move on to the support tab and show you a few things here. So as part of the service offering, VMware Cloud on AWS is offering world-class 24/7/365 technical support. And you need those org IDs and SDDC IDs in order to avail of that particular support. Now, we've not stopped there. We've done something pretty unique here. And this is one of my favorites, the ability to have a deeper conversation with you at the time that you really need it. And so we've launched this new chat support offering. So notice this little icon at the bottom right. I'm just going to go ahead and pop it up here. And I'm going to ask a question. I just typed it in advance. So my question is, hello, this is Narayan. I have a packed audience of about 700 people looking at this demo. I need some help. Can you please point me to the VMware Cloud on AWS documentation link? So I'm going to fire that off live. And we have support staff on the other side manning these chat queues and waiting to help these end users directly in context of the application.
So this is all from within the service?
This is absolutely from within the service. You get to access chat support from within the service and also from your vSphere client.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
And there you have it. Someone already responded with the links to the documentation. And so this is a way for us to get a lot closer to you and really foster a unique relationship and really build on our existing relationship and hopefully make you successful in your business. Okay, great. Thank you, Alex, for that. All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the connection info tab. So on this particular tab, you can see links to vCenter. So essentially, after the SDDC bring up, we create this vCenter URL, and we hand it back to you. And you can find that on the connection info tab. So you see a link here to the vSphere client, the HTML5 client. You see a link to the API Explorer, and you have a handy connect string to Power CLI as well, so that you can fire up your Power CLI commandlets against VMware Cloud and AWS. Notice what's not here, the Flex client URL. There is no Flex on VMware Cloud and AWS. This is a complete soup to nuts HTML5 experience. It's modern, it's fast, it's all built on the same design paradigm of Clarity, which, by the way, we've open sourced. So it's exciting. It's all coming together in a common design pattern and with modern technology. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and dive into vCenter. I have vCenter open right here. And so at a glance, you can see the Cloud SDDC and the available capacity in the Cloud SDDC. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up hosts and clusters. And I'm going to show you everything that's up in the cloud first. So in the cloud, you have your SDDC data center right here. You have a cluster of hosts. In this case, there are 4 hosts in this particular cluster. And we have separated out the compute resource pool from the management resource pool. The management resource pool is essentially a resource pool for all of the management VMs, such as vCenter, NSX Manager, NSX Edge, and other components. And the compute resource pool, customers can bring in their workload VMs from on-prem or otherwise and really land it here. Notice here that along with the Cloud vCenter, I have another vCenter here as well. Now, this happens to be my on-prem data center, my small test lab in Palo Alto. And so what we've really done here is we've linked the 2 vCenters together. We've linked the vCenter in the cloud to vCenter on-prem using a feature called hybrid linked mode.
So this is a single pane of glass where you'll be able to see both your on-prem resources as well as VMware Cloud and AWS resources?
Exactly. And this is a key for VMware administrators. The ability to manage from one place, to see your inventory from one place, and the ability to do cool hybrid use cases, such as moving virtual machines from the cloud and back to on-prem, doing live migrations, managing your templates using content library, publish, subscribe capabilities, a lot of capabilities. But really, the underpinning of all of that is really hybrid linked mode that you see right here.
I'm sure VI admins will be super excited about this.
That's what we have heard from our initial users as well, and this is a super exciting feature for us. Excellent. All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at one of the VMs here. Let's do something with it. Let's go to Linux EY01 VM in my Palo Alto data center. I'm going to right-click on it and do a very familiar operation. This is just vCenter, folks. There's nothing new here. I'm just going to start a new migrate operation and show you that I can actually move a virtual machine to the cloud. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to select both compute and storage. We go next. This is not a cooking show. This is completely live, full disclosure. And we're going to pick the cloud data center here. We're going to land it on the right resource pool, which is the compute resource pool. Wait for the validation checks to complete. And then we'll get into the future steps. OK. Now I can go ahead. Now I'm at the storage step, where I can pick the right workload data store, where I have rights to create VMs. And I go next, and I finally pick the workloads folder, where I have rights to create VMs. And then last but not least, I just go with the default network settings. I wait for the compat checks to complete. And then I go ahead, and I get to my summary screen, and lo and behold, I'm done. So all I'm waiting for right now is the recent tasks pane to light up. And there it goes. The relocate virtual machine task just fired up. This is live. This is happening. I'm moving a VM from Palo Alto all the way to my cloud in Oregon. So we'll just give that a few more seconds to complete. But hopefully you got a taste of what VMware Cloud and AWS is all about. all of the different capabilities that we're bringing to market today. All right, let's go ahead and bring up the slides now. Thanks, Sai. Awesome. That did complete, by the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and change directions and talk about what's really available right now. So we just launched our initial availability in the Oregon region for the VMware Cloud on AWS service. And so I want you to think about this in 3 different buckets. The first bucket is the core bucket, the core SDDC capabilities, the core provisioning capabilities, the ability to sort of create workloads in vCenter, right? That's really the heart of all of this. The second bucket is the additional management, self-service, provisioning, right, that we'll talk about. And then finally, all of the partner ecosystem, the ISV technology partners that we've been working with. It's an entire solution, right, that we've launched today. Okay, now let's talk about the core offering. Some of the key points here are, you just saw the self-service provisioning console where you can create new SDDCs, add hosts, remove hosts, etc. Today, we are offering that in an on-demand hourly consumption model. So what that means is you can now rent hosts by the hour from VMware and then use that to create your workloads and get rid of it when you don't need it, right? So that's the beauty of the cloud. The second thing here is lifecycle management. Obviously, this is a service offering. And so now VMware is an operator. And we take care of upgrading your vCenter, upgrading your ESXi, upgrading your vSAN, upgrading your NSX manager, your edges, right? All of those things. This is our problem now. And so as part of this offering, you don't have to be responsible for these items. You can just focus on your business and drive value for your business while we take care of all the maintenance activities on your behalf. Last but not least, technical support. We just showed you chat support, which is uniquely offered with this particular offering today. Now let's talk about the core SDDC capabilities. First of all, we talked about hybrid linked mode. The ability to connect vCenters together, administer them from one single pane. So that's available today. Now, when we talk about the cloud SDDC, there are a lot of core features. But again, I want you to think about these core features as standard VMware features that you have used and loved for the past several years, right? This is a standard 4-node vSAN cluster with the core vSphere capabilities that you've been using for the last several years. A couple of examples. When a host fails, VMs are automatically restarted on the next healthy host. This is vSphere HA. It's been around for 10 years. DRS, the ability to load balance and keep VMs happy across the available resource capacity that we have. Let's talk about storage. Out of the gate, we are offering an all-flash configuration with vSAN for both the caching and the capacity layer. This is a really good fit for your production applications. In terms of networking, we showed you some of the constructs. We are offering edge firewalling capabilities as part of the simplified networking that we showed you on the console. We have VPN service capabilities that you can attach a VPN from your on-prem VPN device to VMware Cloud on AWS. We have a lot of other networking capabilities that we are offering as well as part of this launch today. And then finally, the AWS infrastructure. These are pretty powerful boxes. Each host has two CPUs, 36 cores, a lot of memory, and about 6 terabytes of local direct attached storage usable for your workloads. Now, we don't stop there. Think about the additional tooling that you're using today in your on-prem environments. We realize operations, your third-party tools, your scripts, your runbooks, right? All of those just need to point to a vCenter in the cloud, this new vCenter that was just created in the cloud. And they just work. That's the beauty of the whole offering. You don't need to make any changes. You just need to connect to the vCenter and start leveraging the dashboards and the runbooks that you already have in place. So we realize operations was a piece of cake for us. We just tested it thoroughly to make sure it works, et cetera. But it's fully supported today for VMware Cloud on AWS. Let's talk about automation, an area that's very near and dear to our hearts. With VMware Cloud on AWS, we have distinctly taken an API-first approach to building our components. And so as part of this, everything that you saw on the console is available via an API. It's fully backed by a RESTful API with a JSON interface with full Swagger specs, right? Obviously, there are a lot of Power CLI users in the vSphere community. And so we have full support for Power CLI. We have Power CLI download launch today as well that fully supports VMware Cloud and AWS, including additional commandlets for Power CLI that will enable it to work seamlessly with VMware Cloud and AWS. And then last but not least, vRealize Automation. vRealize Automation is the enterprise tool for self-service provisioning for your applications. There is full support for vRealize Automation. So all you need to go is to go to VRA, add a vCenter endpoint, and start using your blueprints and start provisioning to VMware Cloud and AWS. It just works. And then finally, bringing the ecosystem along with us. This is a pretty big deal for us, right? It's not just about VMware Cloud and AWS. It's about the partner ecosystem, the technology partners, the software products that work with vSphere today. And so we're on this journey together, and we're happy to announce that we've been working furiously behind the scenes. And it's about 24 partners that have shown up on this slide that have actually tested their products with VMware Cloud and AWS. And these cover many different verticals: security and compliance, data protection, DevOps, and a lot more. And expect this list to grow rapidly in a short span of time as we test more and more partner products with VMware Cloud and AWS. And then the service aspect, just to reiterate time and time again, right? VMware is responsible for operating your SDDC on your behalf. We give you full control of your applications. When we take away the pain of infrastructure management, software management from you, and we do that for you, right? Now, in addition to the support models that I've highlighted, I want to focus on one specific capability here, right? Think about when a hardware failure happens in your private cloud, in your data center. How long does it take for you to get a new host into the cluster, right? Now, in the VMware Cloud and AWS scenario, you can do this in minutes. And better still, you don't have to worry about it. When we see a hardware failure, we detect it automatically using our monitoring. We're able to auto-remediate it by instantly adding a new hardware into your cluster, right? And you can see this in your vCenter tasks. You can be notified if you need to. But this is completely lights out, operating automatically without a human insight, right? And we leverage the AWS APIs in order to provision these hosts and really attach it to your cluster in minutes, right? This is very, very important. Okay, great. So we talked a lot about the features, we talked about the vision and strategy. We showed you a live demo. But I'm sure all of you have been waiting for this, pricing. So we launched our pricing this morning. It's available on our website, and you can go ahead and take a look. So let me share some of the highlights of pricing, right? First of all, we want to make sure you understand how this works. This is a joint package deal. There's only one line item here, right? VMware is the owner of this service. And so at the end of the day, a customer or a partner does business with VMware, right? So that one line item captures just about everything: the AWS infrastructure, the VMware software, the service aspects, the support aspects, everything, right? So when you see numbers, realize that it's capturing the entire pie and offering it to customers as a single price point, okay? A couple of other things to note here. There is a minimum provisioning requirement of 4 hosts, just because of vSAN requirements. Over time, we'll look to improve on that a little bit more, but for now, you need to start with a 4-host cluster, right? And then you can easily add or subtract hosts to your cluster based on your capacity needs. Now, in terms of consumption models, I want to highlight a couple of things. The first one here is the on-demand hourly model that's available right now. So you can, through the console that we have and through a credit purchase program, you can quickly start to consume or rent hosts in an on-demand hourly model, right? We will also offer a reservation model for reserving hosts using a 1-year or a 3-year timeline. Obviously, with the reservation model, you get deeper discounts for these hosts, right? We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. In terms of payment methods, we offer well-known subscription purchase program, or SPP, and hybrid purchasing program, or HPP. And these are well-defined. We have a lot of information on this. And think of this as buying a gift card from VMware and then burning it down on VMware Cloud on AWS or one of the other SaaS services that we have. And then really the icing on the cake here is the hybrid loyalty program. We've heard this a lot from customers, right? If you're an existing VMware customer, you get an additional discount for owning VMware software, whether it's vSphere, vSAN, or NSX. And we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. That's an exciting piece of information. Now, before I get into the actual pricing numbers, which I'm sure you're dying to see, let's just talk about the framework here, right? It's very important to understand how we're thinking about this. And this has been a lot of work that we have done over the past year, talking to customers very, very closely across many different forums, and really trying to understand how do customers perceive pricing for a new service such as VMware Cloud on AWS. So there are 2 frames of references that we typically get back from them. The first frame of reference here really is, well, I want to compare this to my on-prem data center based on the efficient data center that I'm running, right? I want to compare it with that and do a total cost of ownership comparison based on that, right? That's one. Number 2, many customers look at this from a public cloud perspective. So when they tend to start comparing this with a native public cloud, such as Google or Azure, right? And so it's useful to understand that in those 2 different contexts. And so on this particular chart, you see dollars per VM per hour on the y-axis, and then you see VM density, or VMs per core, on the x-axis. Now, obviously, since this is a host-based model, there's a lot of things that you can tweak to get maximum value out of the system, right? So you can use the overcommit on host to really drive value and lower your VM costs, right? So in this model, the higher your overcommit, the better your VM costs are, right? And with the ability to sort of add and remove capacity at will, you can actually run a pretty hot environment in the cloud, right? So notice here that that blue line actually represents the cost per VM based on the VMs per core. That's really up to you to drive in your particular environment. Now you compare that to the green line, which is really a typical on-prem scenario, right? Again, we've looked at many different on-prem combinations, and what we've gone with in our modeling here is really to look at software costs, such as vSphere costs, your storage networking costs, your data center racking and stacking costs, and power and cooling, right? We've not incorporated anything beyond that. And so the green line is really saying that the VMware Cloud on AWS pricing is very, very attractive compared to a traditional on-prem environment, right? Just out of the gate. That's a big, big win for us. And then if you compare that finally to a native cloud offering, such as Azure or Google, understand that you cannot overcommit in Google or Azure because you're buying VMs, you're not buying hosts, right? This is a pretty flat line when you look at it. And so at a certain point, VMware Cloud on AWS pricing is actually even more attractive, right? But for the big picture, it's very comparable to a native public cloud offering, right? So hopefully that was clear. Now let's actually look at some numbers. Okay, all right. These numbers are up on our website. So let me break this down. So for the core service offering, everything that I talked about earlier, we are offering a list price, dollars per host. Everything here is per host, by the way, right? The core list price, on-demand hourly, is about $8.3K per month. Sorry, per hour for the first row, right? And then you start getting discounts with the 1-year reserved and the 3-year reserved models. Now, I like the second row myself because you're looking at effective monthly costs across all of those different offering types. So for the second row there, per host, you're roughly paying $6K per month And then that drops down to about $3K per month for the 3-year reserved model, right? Pretty attractive. Now, notice that this does not include a few other incremental charges, such as egress charges or public IP charges. And we essentially just pass those on from AWS all the way to the customer, right?
So basically, we are looking at $8 per hour.
That's right.
On demand.
That's right. On demand. That's correct.
Per host.
Okay. Now let's talk about this sort of final icing on the cake that we have as part of the VMware Hybrid Loyalty Program. Many, many customers that I've personally spoken to have said, you've got to find a way to leverage my existing investment in VMware and use that for VMware Cloud on AWS, right? Considering that these are apples and oranges in many ways, we still found a way to make it happen. So if you think about it at the highest level, if you're an existing VMware customer, you get a discount on VMware Cloud on AWS, right? So the more you own, the more discounts you get, right? So for example, if you own vSphere licenses on-prem, you get a 10% discount on VMware Cloud on AWS. If you own vSphere plus vSAN, you get a 20% discount. And it caps out at 25% if you own all three, right? So that's the way to think about it. And so this can really, really be important for you when you're making a purchasing decision to leverage this program. Now, this program is only offered with the longer-term commitments with 1-year and 3-year reservations. Just a note on that point. And many, many customers have come back and told us that they're very excited that we've actually listened to them and we have put in place this loyalty program that's really going to make this a very, very attractive price offering, right? So just to summarize the pricing, our goal was to take pricing off the table as a contentious item. We want to make this available to the broadest set of customers for VMware and AWS, right? And hopefully we've achieved that. You guys let us know. We're open to feedback on this.
And
okay,
essentially,
great.
One of the things that, like, when we were designing the pricing and the packaging, we were guided by 3 principles, right? Make it flexible and simple, make it attractive from a TCO standpoint, and ensure that our customers who've invested in VMware software on premises are rewarded through our hybrid loyalty program.
Yep.
Those are the basic 3.
Exactly. All right, before I let you guys go, I want all of you to take a picture of this, right? This is where you go. Actually, you should go to cloud.vmware.com. Hopefully that redirects. But anyways, go to cloud.vmware.com/VMC-AWS. All the information is there. Follow us on Twitter, VMware Cloud AWS. If you want to contact sales to start a purchasing decision, go to tiny.cc/IWantVMC. We have an amazing number of technical deep dive sessions this week. Storage deep dive, networking deep dives, hybrid deep dives, and a lot more. So take a picture, go to these sessions, talk to us at our booth. We are here all week to answer questions. And by the way, there are t-shirts on this side and there are t-shirts on this side. Please step forward and come and grab a t-shirt. They're actually pretty cool. I want to thank the team for making this happen. With that being said, thank you very much. We'll open it up for Q&A.